Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and it's time for another Rotted request as I let the winds from my patrons guide my sails. And today's request is yet another request for an episode of Hulu's Into the Dark. This time, Season 1, Episode 7, I'm Just F***ing With You. This request was made by Patron Kathryn, and why? Well, according to her, I will trip balls. So in this 1 hour and 21 minute long episode/movie, we get introduced to the character of Larry Adams, played by Keir O'Donnell. And Larry is two things simultaneously. On the top level, he's a fairly bland, humorless individual that just tries to keep to himself and go through his life. On the underside, however, he portrays himself as an internet troll that is constantly making very derogatory, inflammatory, and even abusive posts. And we get the sense as the movie begins, through a montage series, that he has one target in particular, and as the movie unfolds, we find that he is going to the wedding of this target, who does not know his little secret identity on the side. When he's near his destination the night before, he stops at a nearby motel for a night of rest and respite, where he meets the night manager of the establishment, Chester. Chester at first seems to be a somewhat pleasant individual, full of mirth and merriment, and not without a little piece of impish humor to his personality as he plays little minor pranks on Larry and always follows it up with, I'm just f***ing with you. Unfortunately, the personality clash between the two men escalates, and we start to wonder just what does Larry have in store for Chester, and what does Chester have in store for Larry? Alright, so Kathryn's mention of I will trip balls when watching this. Here's the thing, is going through the Into the Dark series so far, I know I've mentioned this on a few episodes where I cover Into the Dark episodes, it often kind of winds up in a place of mediocrity, or even just slightly above. And I was kind of expecting a little bit of mediocrity with this one, and as it started out, I was kind of getting what I was expecting. This was a fairly mediocre concept, and on a conceptual level, it never really rose above that. However, this is a situation that, due to the performances, the characters, the vibrancy, and the chemistry, the entirety of the piece managed to rise above that concept and wind up in an elevated place of well above average. Keir O'Donnell playing Larry was absolutely pitch perfect for the character. He was somebody that was loathsome, but at the same time, you kind of cared about what was happening to him as the mysterious elements of his night was kind of unfolding around him. It was a bit nerve-wracking, and it was always a matter of wondering whether it was absolutely menacing and nefarious, or if it was simply just kind of in bad humor. But the real absolute standout of this piece was Hayes MacArthur playing Chester. Chester as a character was rather fascinating to me, and on the surface seemed like somebody that we all know. I think we all have a Chester in our lives. Somebody that prides themselves on playing little pranks and sometimes taking it too far, and then when they read the room and feel the anger kind of brewing under the surface, oh sorry, I was just with you. But then to see that kind of character that we all have some level of identifiable relationship with go through that escalation and that questioning of where they're coming from, how far they're going to take it, how evil is this prankish, or is this truly vicious? It was fascinating to watch, and Hayes MacArthur bringing the character of Chester to life the way that he did, it was incredibly immersive and engaging, and a lot of fun in its own weird, sadistic kind of way. I don't know about tripping balls necessarily. I think that kind of falls under each individual's personal little definition. When I think of that, I tend to think of movies like the 1977 Hausu. But even so, the areas that this movie did go into were terribly unexpected and thrilling in their own right. If I had to come up with an issue that I had about this episode, I would say that it's the ending. Now, this is a no spoiler thing, so I'm not going to be getting into that a whole lot, but what I will say is that it provided an interesting kind of lens through which Larry would look at himself through, but it didn't feel entirely natural. A lot of this kind of hinged on the Larry and Chester character as individuals without necessarily influencing each other. And in that, there was a very oil and water kind of relationship happening between them. However, once those two opposing liquids started blending together in a little bit of an emulsification method, it kind of felt like the suspension of disbelief was reaching its breaking point. So on one hand, it didn't really feel very much like a natural conclusion, but on the other, it didn't really work to the detriment of the film. I still enjoyed it nonetheless. It certainly didn't ruin the preceding hour or so, and I gotta say that I absolutely recommend this episode of Into the Dark, Season 1, Episode 7, I'm just f***ing with you. So thank you, Kathryn, for recommending this one. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click like and subscribe. And remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.